This is Sleeping in Trees, the audiobook, Chapter 46, Metal Maze. One of our neighbors was on our short list of troubled relations. As is sometimes the case, for a variety of unknown reasons, the parents of two families are not engaged in a neighborly way. The children of those parents, with highly sensitive radar, often are in the same camp. One Friday evening, the neighbors down at the corner had a large and festive party. We had heard rumors about the upcoming event, but little more. With the band and caterers arriving late in the afternoon, we knew it was to clearly be a big deal. The crew and I were milling around in the front driveway, looking for a creative Friday evening outlet when the revelers began to arrive. The 1960s were a magical time for motorists in modern America. Here is how it worked. Step into the car, in the garage, or on the street. Turn the key, which resided conveniently in the ignition. Shift into drive, or first gear, and drive off. Imagine walking out of a local market or drugstore to find one's car parked right in front, unlocked, with keys in the ignition. There were no fobs. The fob had not been invented. Getting in the car and driving away was just like walking out to get the mail. It was that easy and free. It was truly a delightful time, and perhaps the zenith of the American leisure lifestyle, long before this phrase was even coined. We watched the guests arrive for over an hour, now sitting catty-corner up the street in Lobster's darkened bedroom. As the party people converged upon the house, their parked cars lined the street. This was to be a grand affair. Before long, the courtesy spaces in front of the party house were filled and guests were parking their cars all over the place. As with the fob, today's ubiquitous party valet service had yet to be invented. The cars quickly lined up on both sides of the street, under the Bacardi's large banyan tree, and before long, spilled into our front yard as well. As we peered out of the bedroom window at the growing parking lot, we became increasingly agitated with the automotive intrusion and soon began to discuss what needed to be done. Given the acrimonious relationship my mom had with this neighbor, of course Mom and Dad didn't make the guest list at this party, we were emboldened by the belief that almost any act we took at this point to defend our property would be condoned. We desperately needed a plan. On the fly, Lobster crafted a simply brilliant masterpiece of malfeasance. This night, we would soar to new heights of mischievous creativity. The playbook looked like this. Phase 1. Lie in wait until all revelers are in the house and fully engaged in party mode. A booming swing band would help us with our timing. Phase 2. With stealth, creep out among the cars, enter them, and shift them all into neutral. Do not start any engines, as this, we felt, could be deemed some form of breaking and entering, a violation of federal laws. Phase 3. Construct a metal maze. The operation was launched around 10 p.m. We worked quietly and quickly. Within an hour, we had crafted the ultimate Rubik's Cube, a massive metal jigsaw puzzle, rearranging, in complete silence, roughly 50 cars into a patchwork quilt parking lot. No car was more than a few inches from another. Every possible angle was covered so no two cars were aligned. Most surprising was that no party guests came out or went during the operation, and not a single scratch or dent was inflicted on any vehicle. Phase 4. We could hardly bear to implement this phase, but somehow found the courage. It was critical to the success of the operation. All the keys were pulled from the ignitions and tossed randomly into the front yard. We did not take or hide a single set, but dropped them instead in full view, if one knew where to look or had the ability to see. Phase 5. Watch under the cover of darkness and wait for the climactic finale. We had a sleepover that night. Though we were dead tired from the metal maze operation, the physically demanding affair that it was, we stayed up late and lined Lobster's bedroom window in the dark, peeking out from behind drawn drapes. At about midnight, a lone automobile slowly approached the maze. We didn't recognize the car or its occupants. With the entire street blocked, they had little choice but to turn around and head back the way they had come. The driver executed a slow three-point turn, paused for a few moments, obviously puzzled, and even more slowly drove away down the street, turned the corner, and disappeared from view. We waited. Lobster had a bag of beef jerky, so we chewed on piece after piece nervously. Finally, a lone reveler staggered slowly out of the front door. He ambled along the walkway and drew to a halt, surveying what he thought he saw, a giant jigsaw puzzle of cars, covering the front lawn and street beyond. He turned around and stumbled back inside. We all looked at one another, eyes wide in wonderment. Lobster smiled, told us all to remain calm, wait, and watch. In a few moments, the exodus began in earnest. It was just a touch after midnight. In full swing just minutes before, the party had officially ended. Bedlam ensued. Easily 100 guests spilled out into the front yard in a chaotic mob, displaying the entire spectrum of insobriety. Not only could they barely find their cars, they had no idea how to deconstruct the maze, especially after hours of drinking, and no car keys in hand. A truly bizarre scene unfolded quickly. There was angry yelling mixed with bursts of loud laughter. Someone had stumbled across some keys, so the guests were soon on their hands and knees crawling around in the damp grass, searching frantically among the hibiscus and gardenias. More than a couple of tussles broke out. Soon the honking began as a lucky few located their keys, only to realize they were an inner piece of the giant steel jigsaw. It would not be going anywhere anytime soon. Finally, the band spilled out, dragging instruments in tow, creating a visual crescendo of sorts. We rolled around on Lobster's dark bedroom floor in hysterics while watching an outcome unfold that we could only have dreamt of. We were quite proud. In the wee hours, numerous squad cars came and went along with a parade of tow trucks. Somewhere around 3 a.m., the Metal Maze crew had had enough excitement and settled in for the night, scattered about on the floor among sleeping bags, pillows, and scraps of beef jerky. We were out like lights and slept deeply, sedated by the satisfaction that we had executed an operation that would most certainly have made my mother proud. She was positively gleeful. The next morning, smiling broadly and shaking her head, she whipped up a giant batch of pancakes with butter and log cabin syrup. Blow by blow, she relished each tasty nugget of the prior evening's activities, while serving up a group of hyperactive, chattering boys with tousled hair and wrinkled clothes lined up in tall stools all the way down the kitchen counter. I must admit a bit of surprise that upon learning of that evening's event a year or so later, my dad's inventive spirit did not result in the creation of keyless entry or the ignition fob. With a brown paper sack of homemade fireworks, my first and last Seattle 4th of July promised to be a real blast. Up next is Chapter 47, and it's called The Fourth.